Dr. Wenstrup.
Dr. Wenstrup is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Representative Walorski, I'd like to introduce for consideration this resolution of inquiry directing the Secretary of Labor to provide the House of Representatives documents in the Secretary's possession related to unemployment insurance fraud, or UI fraud, during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have a role here. Specifically, this resolution directs the Secretary to provide documents on unemployment insurance funds flowing to criminal syndicates and fraudsters in foreign countries like China and Russia. I'd like to remind everyone that the President has declared the pandemic is over, and so we should move on from this point. Our Democrat colleagues continue to turn a blind eye to what is possibly the greatest theft of taxpayer dollars in American history. We're facing billions of dollars lost to unchecked unemployment fraud involving organized cybercrime and international crime rings. Yet the Democrats have ignored repeated calls for congressional oversight hearings. This resolution is the first time this committee has given any airtime to discussing the issue, and only now because the majority is compelled to. During previous markup of Build Back Better, I offered an amendment to address unemployment fraud. The chair recognized the problem and assured me that we would address the issue and he would discuss it with the Speaker. I'd like to submit a document for the record that summarizes the amendment and the partisan vote tally that took place during that time. Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to submit 2 letters for the record, one dated March 15, 2021, and the other dated February 22, 2022. These letters call for a Ways and Means oversight hearing to investigate the size, scope, and severity of criminal fraud in pandemic unemployment programs.
Hearing no objection, such will be the order.
Mr. Chairman, neither of these letters received a response. A hearing on unemployment fraud remains long overdue. It's our responsibility to act as good stewards of taxpayer dollars. We have to ensure accountability to American taxpayers that their dollars are not lost to fraudsters and international crime syndicates. I never dreamed that in the United States of America, combating fraud would be a partisan issue where Democrats prefer to accept it all at taxpayers' expense. This isn't a victimless crime. Unchecked fraud turned thousands of Americans into unwittingly identify theft victims. I had one constituent who called my office crying. He was notified that someone took unemployment out of his wife's name. His wife had recently passed away. Reports range from $80 billion to $163 billion in fraudulent unemployment payments. Some outside experts say the number's even higher. Under the Biden administration, the Department of Labor has only exacerbated fraud by allowing the use of blanket waivers that would let states off the hook for due diligence and fact-finding. During our markup of the American Rescue Plan, we introduced these amendments, and to stop this, the Democrats unanimously rejected all these proposals, including an amendment offered by Representative Devin Nunes to verify the identity of applicants for unemployment benefits and get documentation prior to sending any money. Now that the programs have ended, these cases are working their way through the court system. It's become increasingly clear that groups who perpetrated unemployment fraud pose a national security risk. Look, unemployment fraud has left taxpayers on the hook for potentially hundreds of billions, yet only a little over $4 billion has been recovered. Democrats may not be willing to even admit the problem, but Republicans are taking action. In June, we introduced the Chase COVID Unemployment Fraud Act of 2022. The bill would jumpstart efforts to claw back federal funds and pursue recovery of fraudulent payments by ensuring aggressive investigation and prosecution of criminal fraud in pandemic unemployment programs. Enough is enough. It's time for this committee and Congress to go after fraudsters and recover the dollars that have been lost. And that begins by having the Labor Department provide a full accounting of pandemic unemployment fraud. I urge my colleagues to report this resolution favorably, as it's an opportunity to show that you are not okay with fraud. And with that, I yield back.